great to have you here with us tonight, and we are so excited. We have two dynamic speakers that we want to introduce to you tonight. And we're going to have each one speak for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then we're going to wrap up with a little bit of questions at the end. So if you have any questions, just please hold them, and we want to have time to answer those questions. And then we will have some time to come down here and experience some of these technologies. So tonight I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Dick Walker from Holy Family Hospital. Dr. Walker's been with Holy Family for going on 28 years now, and he's also holds a master's degree in preventative medicine, and that's why we're so excited to have him here with us tonight. We also have Jerry White, retired research physical therapist from Shriners Hospital. Jerry also has been a professor of biomechanics, done some training, coaching at international levels, and both of them just bring a wealth of information. So we're just very excited to have these gentlemen here with us tonight, and I'd just like to give them both a big hand.
Thanks a lot. If you can't hear me, just ask me to holler up and I'll speak louder. But
Have you created or found something perfect that everyone else must have? It's been said before, build the world's best mousetrap, and the world will build a path to your door. That's only true in the information age, if people can actually find out about what it is that you have. Now that is possible through videos like the one you are about to watch. After watching the video, please visit viralmarketingforyou.com.
We're going to talk about Nikken Wellness Home. Let me just tell you a little bit more about myself. 28 years is a long time to do anything. Some people think, haven't you got it right yet, so you can go off and do something else. But medicine is one of those things where you're constantly learning. And I actually started in medical school even longer ago than that, because it takes 5 or 6 years to get through that whole process before you can actually get a job and make some money. And during that process, I decided that the medical education wasn't teaching me enough about how to prevent things. All it was teaching me how to do was diagnose and treat. So I took a year out and got that degree in preventive medicine. Unfortunately, back then, 30 years ago, they didn't know a whole lot about prevention other than, basic things. And we're going to get back to that tonight. Sort of drink clean water and breathe clean air and that sort of thing. And so we're going to cover some of that as we go through here. And we're going to couch this all around what we call a wellness home. And if you don't, anybody in here have a wellness home? Great. So a lot of you know what we're talking about. Some of you guests who are new. If you don't get all your questions answered by me, then just go to one of those people and raise their hand, and they'll kind of explain to you what a Nikken Wellness Home. But we're going to talk about discovering the power of wellness through a wellness home. We'll start out by explaining to you what the wellness home is a solution to. The wellness home is a solution to many challenges. It is a keystone to a wellness lifestyle, and I think you'll understand that more as we go on. It is really the foundation for maximizing your health and your longevity. Is there anybody in here that's interested in doing either of those? Yeah, I'm pushing 60 next year, and I never thought about longevity until I was 59, which I am now, and now I'm starting to think about it a little bit. And it's a way to jumpstart your personal wellness plan. Is there anybody in here that has a wellness plan? Great, I see some hands going up. Now, if you have a wellness home and you don't have a wellness plan, what happened to all those other people that had their hands up? So if you have a wellness home, I think you have a wellness plan, or at least you've got a pretty big chunk of it in place. But we'll talk a little bit more about this, but if you don't have a plan to do something, what's your likelihood of accomplishing it? And not very big, is it? And so we plan all kinds of other things in our life, but a lot of people just tend to forget to plan their wellness. And is that not an important thing that we should plan and sort of think about and have in place? The sooner the better. Sure it is. Yeah. Wellness, what is it? I want you to start to think of wellness as being beyond not sick. Because I see a lot of people in my ER who think they're well, but they've got 3 or 4 diagnoses already. It's just that those are sort of, not really bugging them a lot at the time. But wellness is really more than just not being sick. Wellness is maximizing your ability to function and maximizing in a number of areas. And healthy body is certainly one of them. And we're going to focus a lot on healthy body tonight. And that's what most people limit their understanding to when they talk about health. But I'm going to tell you that having a healthy mind is important in that area, because if you've got a healthy body and healthy mind, I see those kinds of people in the ER too, and we end up putting them in restraints because their mind's not working, but their body's quite strong and vigorous. And so the healthy mind is important. Healthy family and friends is important. And if you partner with us in Nikken, I think you're going to see how you can really dramatically improve a healthier family and start to improve the health of friends and people that you care about. Healthy society is important. I mean, you could be really healthy physically, have a healthy mind, and even have some healthy friends. And if you were living in Afghanistan or Iraq or some of the other countries in this world that don't really have a healthy society, would your health be secure? I don't think so. So healthy society is important. And this company, Nikken, which is the only total wellness company in the world, really teaches us to focus on giving back to society and helping to continue to maintain the healthy society in whatever country you're living in. And last but not least, healthy finances. And some people say, well, why do you bring up finances when you're talking about health? Is there anybody in here who's ever had a time in their life when their finances weren't healthy? And did that affect your physical health? Were you stressed out, worried about, not being able to afford the things that maybe would contribute to making you healthy? So healthy finances is a huge part of that. And Jerry's going to kind of cover some of that when he gets to his part about how NECAN can help you in that area as well by partnering as a wellness consultant with this company called NECAN. What are some of the biggest challenges that we face to wellness? Certainly stress, in terms of mental stress. Peace of mind is a huge one for many people, and that is often related to what you don't have in your wallet. I mean, a lot of family arguments, a lot of divorces, a lot of problems with kids, and all kinds of problems in our society are wrapped around many times inadequate finances, and that stress causes disease after a while. What about environmental stress? Drinking lousy water, breathing lousy air. Is our environment healthier now, or was it healthier 100 years ago? It's healthier 100 years ago, right? I mean, we didn't even need an environmental protection agency 100 years ago. Now we need that drastically, and we hear about global warming and all kinds of things. And believe me, the environment that you live in and the environment that you surround yourself in is hugely important to your long-term health. And that's why living in a wellness home is so awfully important, because most of us spend more time there than any other one single place during most days of our life. I'm going to say that one of the biggest challenges to our health is the standard American diet. Anybody kind of can sympathize with that? I mean, we eat a terrible diet. I mean, the standard American diet is terrible. If you go to a fast food restaurant for one meal during a day, you've blown any kind of healthy eating plan that you might have, because you're not going to find that at a fast food restaurant. Sleep issues are huge challenges to our wellness. We're just now starting to discover that as medicine finally got around to looking at sleep from the pathologic standpoint. What we find is that sleep, the quality of your sleep and the quantity of your sleep, affects every aspect of your life. Not just when you're sleeping, but it affects every aspect of your life. And it's crucial in a wellness plan that you pay very close attention to the quality and the quantity of sleep that you're getting. We are one of the most sleep-deprived countries in the world. On average, just in terms of hours of sleep, we're about an hour and a half to 2 hours behind any of the other developed countries in the world, and that's not good. Many people that I know, type A personalities that I went to school with and everything, and myself, prided myself on being able to get by with 4 to 6 hours of sleep a night and still think that I was functioning normally. I could function normally, but what I didn't understand was that I was taking money out of the bank of my long-term health, and so you can't do that forever and ever and not expect to run into problems. So sleep's hugely important. Fitness is important, and in fact, a lot of people, if you were just to do a survey out in the street and you asked them about wellness, they would almost automatically go to fitness, and they would almost automatically say, I know I should exercise more, I just don't have time. And fitness is hugely important, but it isn't any more important than drinking clean water, breathing clean air, eating the right kinds of nutrition, and getting a good night's sleep. And so fitness is just part and parcel. But it is a big challenge because it's uncomfortable and it takes time. I think you're going to see a way with NECAN where you can incorporate fitness into your daily routine and not necessarily have to take extra time out of it to get that exercise. Another big risk and another big challenge that we face in looking at what sort of wellness plan to develop is that of the American medical system. I've been part of that system for 30-odd years. I know how it works, I know where it works, I know where it doesn't work. It works really well for the kind of medicine that I practice, which is emergency medicine. It works pretty well in the intensive care unit if you're trying to snatch somebody back from death's door and give them another chance. It doesn't work very well in terms of prevention. It doesn't work very well in taking care of chronic diseases. And there's much more that we do to cover up symptoms than there is to come even close to a cure in medicine. And so the bottom line really is your wellness plan should be focused in the direction of keeping you out of the doctor's office, keeping you out of my emergency room, because once you enter the medical system in this country, we call it health care, it's really sick care. Once you enter that system, you now put yourself at risk for all kinds of other complications. And so a wellness plan, if well constructed and followed, should keep you away from needing that sick care system because it's going to keep you well. And just, if that's all it did, would be a tremendous benefit to you. And I see complications of medications, complications of surgery, complications of just any sorts of interaction with the healthcare system enough to make me, as a physician, I only go there when I have to, and mostly that's when I go to work. So you're better off not having the need to go see a physician, and just don't let her get sick. What are the, one of the radio advertisements for this said that what are the 5 killers that are chasing you around the block? And I get everybody has their own favorite 5 killers, but certainly statistically, heart disease and stroke is the number one disease process that's going to get you. We've made a few inroads in that medically, but not a lot. We do a lot of expensive surgery, prescribe a lot of expensive drugs. We don't really change long-term outcomes very much. We can sometimes eliminate chest pain, but it certainly doesn't put your heart back on track to being a healthy heart. And stroke has the same sort of mechanism. And if you're young and you're saying, I'm not worried about heart attack, I'm 18, 19, 20, there's all kinds of information to show that heart disease starts in your teenage years. And in our society now, with our diet, it probably starts in adolescent years. And so if you're not paying attention to that, once your mom and dad should pay attention to that until you're out of the house. But as soon as you're out of the house, it's your responsibility. But they've done, going back even to the Korean War when they did autopsies on, 18, 19, 20-year-old soldiers that were killed, they already had a significant amount of clogged arteries, even at that young age. And I would arguably say that they were relatively healthy people. I mean, you don't carry a pack around and slog through the ditches and fight wars in an unhealthy condition. So these are healthy young males that already had coronary artery disease, and we're going back, 50 years ago. So I would venture to say that has not gotten any better over the last 50 years because we've seen a rise of McDonald's and all that kind of stuff. And so, we're clogging our arteries up big time. So heart disease is the number one problem. Are there some fancy high-priced stuff that we can do if you let yourself get sick? Yes, there is, but it's not going to get you back to normal. Your only prayer of reversing some of the effects of cardiac disease is a properly constructed diet and wellness program, and in that case you can have some improvement. Cancer is the number 2 killer. Is there anybody in here that knows somebody that has cancer or has died of cancer? I would venture to guess almost everybody. It's a terrible problem in our society. I'm here to tell you that it is to a great degree preventable. If any of you have gone through cancer treatment or know somebody that's gone through cancer treatment, you know that it's not pleasant, you know that it has all kinds of side effects, you know that you can die from the treatment, you know that sometimes when you're getting treatment for cancer, you wish you died because you just feel terrible. And so, would it be better to prevent cancer than to get it? Yeah. Okay. Anybody here thinks different? Come talk to me later. We'll have some reality training. But the interesting thing about cancer is that I was just reading a book lately that there's 3 stages of cancer. There's the initiation, then there's the promotion, and then there's when it really gets to the state where you're sick and needing chemotherapy and radiation and all that stuff. This book is all about how the right diet can, even if you consume a carcinogen or even if you have bad genetic makeup that predisposes you to cancer, like say breast cancer, even if you have all of those risk factors against you, if you adopt a very rigorous wellness program with real particular attention to your diet, and I'm not saying diet as opposed to losing weight, I'm just talking about what you eat on a daily basis, that you can markedly affect the promotion stage of that disease to the point where it never goes beyond 1 or 2 cells or just some damage to your DNA. And so cancer is to a large degree, a very large degree, preventable even in those people who have an inherent propensity, family history type thing for that disease. The number 3 leading cause of death and serious morbidity in this country is an adverse consequence of some type of interaction with the medical care system, be it an adverse reaction to a properly prescribed drug, be it an adverse reaction to surgery, be it whatever. But as I said previously, you want to do everything you can to avoid having to enter the American healthcare system. And it is the best westernized healthcare system in the world, and we do excel at saving people from trauma, and we do excel in the ICU and the emergency room, and we do a very good job of treating symptoms. But let me tell you, and I would imagine that there are some of you in here already that understand that when I say you don't want to come to me unless you really have to. You want to do everything you can to stay healthy and stay fit. A third really huge problem in this country, and it's getting huger, I don't know if that's a word, but it's getting big, and that is diabetes. And diabetes is a terrible multi-system disease. It is the type of diabetes that is epidemic in this country now is type 2 diabetes. It is 100% preventable. It all has to do with diet and exercise and some life choices. But it is preventable, and it responds very well to a wellness plan, even after you get it. But there's a huge number of people out there that have pre-diabetes, don't even know it yet. It's sort of like the avalanche that's breaking off the mountain and heading down the hill. And it leads to some terrible things like heart disease, like kidney disease, like amputations of your feet. I mean, diabetes is not something that you want anybody, you don't want to get, you don't want your loved ones to get it. And the exciting thing is that it's quite preventable. And we're seeing some changes, some dramatic changes with diet and exercise. Obesity, which is related to, certainly a precursor for type 2 diabetes in many people, but is really a disease condition. We are seeing so much obesity even in adolescents now, and you can imagine if you start out your life and by age 10 you're already into that obesity class where you're packing around so much extra weight that it's just a lifelong history of misery, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, you name it. Those are all the things that go along with obesity, and the longer you're packing along that extra weight, the more likely and the more severe the consequences of that are going to be. So those are some of the 5 pillars that I think about when I try to get people to understand what the problem is and what they're facing if they don't adopt a wellness plan. Because I can tell you with 100% assurance, I don't know if there's anywhere you can bet on it. I think in Las Vegas you can probably bet on anything. But if I were to put a bet on somebody who says, I'm just going to eat the American diet, I'm not going to pay much attention to it, I know I'm Teflon, I'm not going to get anything, I'd put a whole lot of money on that sometime during that person's lifetime they're going to contract a serious chronic degenerative disease because they didn't pay attention to prevention and wellness. A few other things that are sort of in the news lately. I mean, it doesn't seem like you can turn the TV on or pick up a paper that what they're talking about, this MRSA thing, methicillin-resistant Staph aureus. That's been around for years. It's just that the media is making it popular right now. I mean, it's been around for 20, 30, 40 years. It is becoming much more common, and I think the lesson to take from that isn't that you need to wash yourself in antiseptic soap twice a day, because you're just going to make those resistant bugs more resistant, because the more you try to fight them, the stronger they get, and that really is true. But, sensible hand washing and just being kind of sensible about things, but understanding that your only defense against those kinds of microorganisms is a very strong immune system. And you strengthen your immune system through a wellness program. There's no pill that's going to strengthen your immune system directly. There's all kinds of things in general that you can do to boost your immunity. And your immune system is kind of like the wall around your castle. It keeps all the bad things out. And so I can't say enough about keeping that immune system strong. If we ever have this bird flu kind of thing, and I gave a talk about that, I think, last fall, if that ever hits this country, your only hope is that you have a healthy immune system and you can kind of avoid some of the exposure to it. But there is no medicine that's going to treat that. And the medicine that sort of works for other flus, even with the stockpile, there's not enough to even treat the medical system and the healthcare workers and paramedics and that kind of thing. So you won't get access to it anyway. So you got to stay healthy. Accumulated injuries, wear and tears, or anybody in here who's kind of had this and that and the other thing, and you were getting by with it until you hit 40 or 50, and all of a sudden now when you get out of bed and when you stand up, get out of the chair, you think, oh man, that really hurts. A wellness plan can really, and a wellness home can address some of those issues. Premature aging, dementia. We're seeing a huge problem in this country with early onset of dementia. A lot of that, I think, is preventable with a wellness plan. And I think one of the biggest risks for not staying healthy is lack of awareness that there is something you can do. Because a lot of people just don't think that there's anything they can do about it. And you're going to hear some pretty exciting things from us and Jerry tonight, from me and Jerry. But so lack of awareness And so we're trying to address that tonight. And apathy. You know, they said, well, it's too complicated, or I don't know what to do, and some of that lack of awareness and apathy comes from the fact that there is a little bit of information overload about wellness and sickness and all that kind of thing. And you read one magazine, tells you to do one thing, tells you to eat this, tells you to take that pill, tells you to take that pill. Another magazine says, no, that's all wrong, take our pill. And so I just want to warn you that there are no magic bullets of wellness. Wellness is sort of like a 5,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, and we only probably know a tenth of what the pieces even look like now. There's all kinds of things that we're discovering as time goes on. It's a very complex subject, but Nikan, as the only total wellness company in the world, has taken that and put it into a very understandable package called a Wellness Home, which addresses most, if not all, of the big pieces of that jigsaw puzzle that we call wellness. Whose responsibility is your health? It's yours. You've got to point the finger at yourself, because it's not your doctor's, it's not your mother's, it's not your father's, it's not your husband's, it's not your wife's, it's you. Now, in many families, it is the wife, because I know from consumer surveys and everything that women account for 80 or 90% of the healthcare decisions that are made in this country, be they medical or be they wellness, staying healthy. It's not that common for a man to walk into a store and buy a bottle of vitamins. It just doesn't happen very often. Because guys figure that, I'll just keep doing what I'm going to do, and if I have a problem, I'll just kind of tough my way through it, right? That's the guy's attitude. Women, on the other hand, are thinking, if we could just hedge the bets a little bit, if we could improve the odds a little bit, maybe that guy will stick around a little bit longer. So we need those women to kind of keep reminding us of that. I would urge you to create your personal wellness center at home so that the whole family can benefit. Wellness begins at home. Once you walk outside that door, you can't control the environment. You can only control the environment when you're home. You can raise children who are educated and knowledgeable about wellness if you raise them in a wellness home, and then you start to get multi-generational improvement. And the neat thing about a wellness home is that it's a non-intrusive way to make crucial lifestyle changes. People are resistant to lifestyle changes if they're hard. All of the athletic clubs in the world sell these short-term memberships because they know you're going to get all excited and you're going to join and you're going to go down there and work out. And then 3 or 4 months or 6 months, some die hard, maybe 8 months, they give up. They just, their life gets in the way and they quit going. And so then they buy another membership. And so these clubs rely on people doing that. Buy a membership, let it lapse. Buy another membership, let it lapse. That's the way their business runs. That's human nature. But wouldn't it be nice if you could get the benefits that you're expecting by going to that athletic club just by living in a wellness home and adopting some simple lifestyle changes and using an exercise product that is just a shoe that you can just wear around the house and wear during the day and get plenty of exercise. So I'm just going to mention the basic wellness technologies, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jerry. But when we talk about this wellness home, what are we talking about? What kind of products? What kind of lifestyle things? We're talking about improving the quality of your sleep. We're talking about improving the quality of the water that you drink. We're talking about improving the quality of the air that you breathe. Does everybody breathe air? Yeah, a lot of air. And there's a lot of junk in that air that you don't really want in your body. We're going to talk about the nutrition and nutritional supplementation. And one thing to really kind of take home, one general thing about nutritional supplementation, is that there are no magic bullets of nutrition, and that whole food-based nutrition is better than magic bullet nutrition, because there's still a lot of things in whole food that we don't know about, that we don't really understand, but they help the things that we know about work. They're called cofactors and coenzymes and trace elements and all that kind of thing. And so Nikan's food supplements, by and large, are concentrated whole food. So you're getting all the stuff we know about, and you're getting all the beneficial things that we haven't really discovered yet. Energy is certainly important, and Nikan has some energy-enhancing products and a fitness product, and those are the major categories that are covered when you live in a wellness home. Healthy finances are, last but not least, an important aspect of your health. It all comes down to priorities. Some people say, well, I can't afford a wellness home, that costs too much money. And I look at them and say, well, can you afford the sickness that's going to happen if you don't start paying attention to wellness? Because if you can't afford sickness, then let me tell you, you can't afford to get, if you can't afford wellness, you can't afford to get sick. Anybody in here been in the hospital in the last 6 months or so? Overnight? Yeah, was the bill 5,000 plus? Yeah. Or 10,000 plus, or 20,000 plus, or, yeah. They can rack up a big bill really quick. Let me tell you, wellness is dirt cheap compared to any sort of major illness. Or any sort of illness that you get on where you have to take a prescription for the rest of your life, those costs add up quite quickly, and they compound as time goes on. What's the answer? The answer is to partner with NECAN. My wife and I did this about 11 years ago. We were fairly healthy. We were sort of the walking wounded. We were a very active lifestyle, so we had this injury, that injury. We rock climbed, mountain climbed all over the country, all over the world, and started to accumulate some aches and pains. But we were still either working or playing 24/7. Didn't want to slow down, but we sure wanted to feel better. And I ran into this gentleman over here who gave me some products to help my back and gave my wife some products to help a sore foot that she had at the time. She'd gotten a stress fracture running Bloomsday, I think it was. I tried to tell her that that's what it was, tried to put her in a cast. She says, no, my cast, that'll slow me down too much. And so Jerry put a little shoe insert in her shoe, and her foot quit hurting in 5 minutes. And she said, see, I didn't need that cast after all. Took it out and started hurting again. I said, yeah, but you need that. So well, it looks like we're going to have to buy that from Jerry. So partner with NECAN, and you'll see some amazing changes both in your health and if you really are serious and want to be a business partner, certainly in your finances. I used to work 70 hours a week now. At the hospital and a clinic I had, I now work about 70 hours a month, and a lot of that is thanks to the income that we get from our NECAN business. The NECAN has a goal right now to create 100,000 healthy millionaires by the year 2010. Is there anybody in here that'd like to be a healthy millionaire? Yeah. Is there anybody in here who wouldn't like to be a healthy millionaire? So that's the kind of partnership opportunity that's available. Jerry will explain a little bit more about the details. But if that's available, and we have some healthy millionaire or two in the room, thanks to NECAN. Dave Johnson is a healthy millionaire, thanks to NECAN. And afterwards, go ask Dave how that happened. I'm not going to embarrass him by asking him to get up here and talk because then we won't get anybody else to talk because Dave loves to talk. But it's certainly an awesome success story that Dave has. But if NECAN is offering you that to become one of these 100,000 healthy millionaires, my question to you is why not? And so we'll have that available for you here at the end of this presentation. So if you want to get involved, we can do some more and get you squared away there.
I love seeing a lot of people. I like to get this word out. My background, real quickly, I was working as a swim coach and a head of research over at Shriners Hospital and working too much. That was really the big deal. Spending way too much time away from the kids and the family. And my son reminded me one day, he said, Dad, how is it you can go down to that hospital and play with everybody else's kids, but if you ever come home, there's no time for us? A little 9-year-old with big eyes brings that up to you and you think, I don't know, man. I guess I had this heart for wanting to change the world, but I didn't know how to do it. I was trying to move, who was it? Was it Archimedes who said, give me a lever big enough and I can move the world? I was trying to move the world with a pencil. And I think a lot of people are in that same boat. And I ran across some pretty amazing technology. What we're here to do is to try to take what Dick was saying, and that is that it's probably not a big surprise to you that we have people who are less healthy than they were a few years ago, right? I love what Dave said last week. It was really great. He said, we have better everything nowadays than we did a few years back except happiness. Isn't that a cool thing to think about? Well, I mean, that's kind of sad, but it's kind of interesting to think about. And why do we lack happiness? I think sometimes people have gotten so involved with themselves they forgot to reach out and be involved with other people. And right here is a group of people, you have an opportunity to literally start something that will change all of our worlds. Some of you will take a little snippet of this information and just go, "Oh, that was cool, Mr. Science," and that's it. And some of you will begin to start to change your own life, and some of you will really take it to heart and want to go to town and change the lives of your family and the people around you. It doesn't matter what you do, what selection you make tonight, you change thousands of people. Some for the worst, if you choose incorrectly, and some for the better, if you choose correctly. If you choose incorrectly when we're all done tonight, we'll pray for you. But we do need people to stick with the other stuff. So what is this wellness home? What is this all about? Well, what we found was that I'm a physical therapist, and not very many people complied with my treatment strategy. According to the National Physical Therapy magazine, approximately 3% of the people will actually do what we told them to do. Is that shocking to you? So if we want to get them from here over to here, their desire is to get healthier, but they really don't tend to do those things. It seems like it's so far away. But what I found fascinating, one of the many things I found fascinating with Nikan is they said, we're going to start this process by having you sleep with a really yummy blankie on a really cool pad. And some of you can do this, you know, whatever it takes. A little friend that you know, like your little Teddy. And how many could do that? More likely than I could get you to do crunches for half an hour while you're watching TV at night. That was fascinating to me. And how profound can that be? Well, it's just sleeping on something. Changed my life in one day. A friend of mine was having massive seizures, 8 or 9 of them a day. Changed his life in one day. Other people, same thing. We've got people all over this room who have tried a lot of things through the medical profession, and they're just getting frustrated. Dave said one time, he heard a doctor say that if drugs were the answer, we'd be the healthiest people on the planet. Isn't that probably true? According to the World Health Organization, we rank right around 100. Number 100. That means a lot of folks are ahead of us. So maybe that we could do some other things to help lessen the load on the healthcare system. So how many of you could probably sleep if we worked on that? Gave you a little assist. Roll your back up and down with this little, oh, you got to try it before you leave. But put you in this cocoon, this environment that changes your environmental conditions. There are things that you didn't know make you worse. Jim, we went over to his house the other day. There was an environmental specialist, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I said, we're going to show you a couple of environments in the next couple of minutes that with his master degrees, you've never even imagined affect people. He was shocked, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. One of those environments turns out to be magnetic fields. And just to kind of give you an example, I brought one of the most educated people about Nikan that we've got here. Brian, you've known about Nikan for how long?
2 days.
2 days, yeah. So I just thought I'd get somebody with lots of background in history. Could you come up for just a second and kind of tell that story?
Sure.
What if the environment around us, with all the magnetic fields and all the things that go on with us, could be corrected and we could get healthier with some simple little device? Wouldn't that be weird? So, Brian, let her rip.
I've been sick for almost 2 years now with extreme nausea and vomiting every day, 24 hours a day. Used this for 2 days. I haven't had it since. Very simple.
Boy, that would ruin somebody's life. Hey,
purchased their boat?
I've been in the hospital 9 times in the last 2 years. I spend more on drugs than I do on rent.
And has this helped as much as those have?
Oh, there's no comparison. I ate M&M's today for the first time in 2 years. That's a good thing, but normally I don't eat shit. And I had them just before I came here.
We're lucky for that. Wow. You know, for those of you, someone just told him he was pregnant, but so maybe this little environmental thing is important to us. Did you know they used to get sick from a lot of things, but they didn't know what caused it. There were kings that went loopy in the head. And they had venereal disease, but they didn't know why they were going loopy in the head. It kind of caught up with them. Later on, people figured out, I know why King George was maniac. You discover these things. Well, it just turns out that we're beginning to discover there's some things that are incredibly healthy about correcting the environmental magnetic fields. And anyone else here have an experience with magnetic fields that is recent, that really made a big difference to you? Yeah.
My whole family, actually. I have a daughter who's 16, has an ulcer.
Come on down.
Actually, 2 months. Called her and shared.
They know we have to come on to the
Sorry. JoJo was at the Freeman School, and Misty's calling me, and Mom, I'm sick. I'm throwing up. I hurt. I'm like, get a hold of 2 months. Put a magnetic on her belly. And we had her in the doctor's office, and they're giving their prescriptions that don't work. Made Misty sick, the hives, and I'm not big into drugs. Changed my little girl's life. We got her home, and they wrapped her in the magnets, and that's when Sherry was getting me involved in this, and put Misty in a whole bunch of things within 10, 15 minutes. JoJo was feeling great, and I'm like, no way. This is fantastic. Well, I had injuries from horse wrecks and vehicle wrecks. I got thrown with a horse.
I'm picturing horses running into walls and stuff.
Military, shrapnel, shot, stab, you name it, military, special forces. I bought the whole system because I was tired of the drugs. I'm not a drugger, but I drank a lot. I'm an alcoholic because of my pain. So was my husband. The doctors don't give you anything unless it makes you loopy. I'm a heavy equipment operator, so you can't operate equipment on medicines. So I'm hurting all the time, so drinking was my way of getting out of it. Work 14 hours a day, I come home, I get drunk. Okay, that's good. My husband retired, get drunk. Oh, well, it's the truth. You don't have to tell them. Free therapy, I understand. In short, though, I bought the whole system and it changed our lives. We've been on it for about 2 months now, I guess. No. Month and a half? Okay, well, anyway, it changed us like that. And so I was like, fantastic. So it got me driven. And I'm not one for multi-marketing or any kind of business, but if it changed all 3 of mine in my home, then I know it's real. It's not fake. It's not mind over matter. It's something that's there. So, yeah.
Cool.
Sorry, ramble.
You know, hey, wait. People like you are always invited to places like this. And that's just one of the pieces. Now, I'm going to give you a really sort of interesting piece of science here. I'm going to come over to the board so you can see these numbers. Some of you learn better when you see stuff than if you just hear it. And I love this. This was so profoundly interesting to me. If you think about it, we got in a mindset where we figured that a magic bullet would fix everything. And now all of us are becoming somewhat skeptical as a society. We're saying, probably not. We probably have to. Did you know that you could have ultimately perfect nutrition, and if you sleep 2 hours a night, you're still going to feel crappy? Is that a shock? And if you duct tape your rear end of the chair for 11 months, you're going to get stiff and you're going to have a potty problem.
I mean, there's just certain things you gotta do. And part of it is we've got to put these pieces together. So let's outline what our wellness home is all about. We're trying to create health.
Can't see. Darker.
I'll get the bigger guy here and see if it'll work. I can see it. What's the matter? We need the partner. There we go. If we were to take, as Dick was mentioning, the pieces of this, we want to create health. I like this one. It's a million. Like this. It goes like this. You see that? Now, tell me what, if y'all were to just pick up $1 million today, because Arlette will be handing that out at the door, what would you use that for? And I'm going to ascribe to each one of these zeros, I get the chance to do this one over here, what would people generally use $1 million for? So throw out some things.
My farm.
Oh, what?
My farm.
My farm.
Car. Yeah, I got it.
Tax, car, house payment, college, vacation.
Stomach transplant.
Where did that come from?
Now, all of those things would be great, but what if I get to say this one is your health, and what if we took away that? How much is everything else worth? Comes out to be worth nothing. Now, I know a whole bunch of people that are in their 20s for whom for all the world, you'd almost guess they would trade this for a 47-inch plasma TV. Unless those people who are smarter think any different. Some guys would probably trade it for a new truck. And ladies, you're not exempt either. How about a kitchen remodel? And then when you get to thinking, wait a second, if I lost my health, it might even be worth more than the kitchen remodel. Dang it. And how much is that going to cost us? Here's this whole thing I wanted to show you. Once we start looking at which piece of this sleep, water, air, energy, oops, that's in the wrong place, but it'll work, nutrition, and fitness, if you had all of those, what's the chances you'd have to be in the hospital less often? Real good. And especially if this energy one was to decrease stress and increase your energy. So if we did all of those things, how many people would be using the American healthcare system? That would be a pretty low number, right? That would free up our funds to do other things that would be more important in our lives. Instead of doing what we do now, which is in our youth, we spend all of your wealth to gain health. Let's say spend all your health to gain wealth. So that in the second half of your life, you can spend all your wealth to regain your health, right? Not a very good decision, but that's where a lot of people are. So if we did all of these things, which one's the most important? Sleep is the one you'll feel the fastest, that's for darn sure. Because I can tell as we look across on this deal, it's going to be different importance to different people. Because if your dubisary is fluctuating right now, you're going to have that one as being your top deal. That's what Brian had. He had a fluctuating, malfunctioning dubisary, and the doctors told him that. Which means we don't have a clue, man. But I'm glad it's not me. Pay him at the front desk.
No, I wasn't a candidate for part of that, so it was free.
That was really strong.
That was the worst treatment I had.
But here's what we found out. How do you determine which one can you leave out? You can't, can you? So we had to package it all together. You can't just say, I'll take this superfood. Oh, well, they just squeeze these dogs and then they wipe the sweat off a donkey and they take the slobber off a vulture and they put them all together and it's really yummy stuff and it'll fix your... It may fix your warts and farts and hiccups, but they'll still be prevented. There's got to be other pieces to the equation here. So we look at all this, and this is the study that was done at the National Institute for Health, where they took people and gave, or these mice, and gave them the fatal virus. How many of you know what the word fatal means? You still get it. And they took half of them and they stuck them over in this group, and half of them over here, and this one had an exercise wheel, and this one over here, they gave them nutritional supplements. And what they found was, over here they had a 15 to 18% improvement in their survivability. And over here, they had a 15% improvement in survivability. So somebody got brilliant and said, I know, let's have them do both. That would be cool. And so we would think in our normal, y'all went to math class, right? What's the highest possible number when you add those together? 33%, right? I memorized that. If I had to figure it out here, we'd all be in trouble. But what they found, what was astounding, was when they put the two together, it was an amazing 255% increase in survivability. So which one do you leave out? Now let's talk about the train wreck that's about to happen. 44,000 new cases of diabetes a month. Over 60% of the American population in adulthood is overweight. We have things coming that are just going to stink up the neighborhood. It must change because we cannot afford the system as it currently exists. For people to just go in and just go, well, doc, I'm a train wreck and I need you to cover it up. And then you go back out and live the same lifestyle. You come in, you're nothing but a pool of goo and eyeballs that just floats in under the door, and then they just say, whoa, and then they cut, burn, and poison you. You say, you're fixed now, go pay them at the front desk. It will not work anymore. It's too expensive. We can't pay for it. So if we start this group of people who one person talks to the next and makes a difference, and Lulu took the time to talk to Brian, and Brian's not barfing, everybody's happier. Dude, take this bag, go away. He's going to be incorporated in people's lives, and he's probably going to tell them about it. How big can this get? Watch this. Arlette, would you give me the fancy erasable napkin from the bathroom? What we want to do is we want to say, if this train wreck is about to happen, stuff shifts. You know, people are sort of smart, and I love it. This one lady that did this kind of business, she said, well, there's a lot of people here that they say they're cruising along through life, and we're about to come on some dog doom in life. We're going to see that the healthcare system's getting sick, everybody's miserable, nobody's getting sleep, but all is sort of bad. So there's a pile of dog food there, and she said, got two choices. And this is what most people do. They go, oh, I wonder if that's dog food. And they get down and they look at it, and then they sniff it. Yeah. And they go, they stick their finger in it, and they say, yeah, oh. So that people come up on these problems that occur in their lives, and they just sort of live in it. How unfortunate. Or the other option is to go, whoa, and step over it. What we're going to see is that this healthcare system that we have in the United States, the sick care system that we have, it will hit the wall and it will break into a million pieces because we can't afford it. And everybody goes, oh God, we're all dead. There's no hope for any of it. Can't still have my pizza and my beer. No hope for any of it. Well, probably people will step over the poop, and then all those that stay back there one day go, ugh, it stinks over here. This is horrible. How come they're so far ahead? Well, because they stepped over it. So I want to give you an option to step over stuff. And this is how you do it. You could be like I was, working way too many hours, like Dick was, working 70 hours a week. That's basically avoiding your wife.
That was the first one. Yep.
Or we can change it. And if you're not getting what you want out of life, then change it. How do you change it? Well, here's what some people did out here. They said, well, let's see, I could buy lottery tickets. We could go out a lot. We could buy a new hubcaps and like a tow package and computer and like that's necessary and like some new canisters in the kitchen and we're good. And then they go, and they sit in the poop. There's other people who could say, well, for about 1/5 of that, I could do this. I could rearrange my house. And it changes everybody in here. You want to know if you're not? Look around the room. Look at these people. You know how you can tell who's not sleeping well? They're the ones that look like poster children for California pitted prunes, I'll guarantee you. Life stinks when you don't sleep well. What's that word? So that was that sleep environment. This is another environment. I would warn all of you not to touch this if you haven't before. It'll start calling you in your sleep. Hello, come here. I mean, this is the neatest thing, and it's got these technologies where it's actually taking light waves and reflecting them back into your body, and it's astounding the results. People all over this room know them. How are we going to take this concept to the world? Well, first off, is it any stretch to the imagination to think that we are now aware as a society that this is almost as likely to help us get through it as more drugs or more surgery? Dick, you've had that many years of experience in healthcare. What percentage of drugs are we currently dispensing that appropriately address drug deficiencies? 0. You see, we're not all miserable because we're deficient in some drug. There's got to be another answer. It's logical. What if, as a society, we began to become aware of this logic very quickly? Study in the Archives of Physical Medicine, published with a 3rd phase, double-blind, placebo-controlled study with this in the shoes of people who have diabetic peripheral neuropathy. It's where your foot starts to burn. Anybody ever hear about that? Feel like it's on fire? Then it starts to tingle, then it goes numb, and then you start getting nasty open sores, and then those open sores don't heal, and then they go, dude, we got to take that one. They lop your toe off, and they go, look, that's not healing. What goes next? Your foot. What goes next? Then they do a fem-pop transfer. They take the femoral artery and transfer it to the popliteal vein, and they say, well, let's try to make this thing work. And then that patch works for a little bit, and then your kidneys start to go, and then your eyes start to go, and you can't see. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing sadder than trying to be me. When I was, one of my first patients was this lady, and she ate herself into this condition. She had people that loved her. She had all these kids. She just had this lifestyle that led to where she was. She had so much desire on her face. She had just had her leg amputated all the way up to the hip socket. She was about 250 pounds more than she wanted or needed to be, and I was supposed to try to get her out of bed for the first time. Good luck. It was a sad story. We have this thing where we put around their belt, and it's called the gait belt, and we have to hold on to that to help her. And when she got up, that leg wouldn't hold, and down to the floor she went. My arms didn't move. all the tissues just came up like this. I looked down inside, she was going, now what do we do? So then, this is a problem because the medication they were giving her gave her diarrhea, and so what I did was I just kind of grabbed her hand and I went, whoop, and pulled in on this, and I yanked back like that, and she just, whoa, my shoe just got cut. So lest you like things like that, I would suggest that you sort of get on the bandwagon. How do we do that again? We do this with just simple things like this. And what that study found was that we put this in the shoe of a diabetic peripheral neuropathy and had as much as 90% success rate on something that costs $60 once in somebody's lifetime, as opposed to a medication that we currently use that costs $300 a month, has 45 side effects including death, and works 31% of the time, which is 1% better than placebo. You suppose we're about ready to see a market shift? People are going to step over the poop here pretty quick. They're going to shift to something different. The whole environment's going to shift. So Nikken came to North America, and it's the largest provider of healthcare products in Japan. It's one of the largest corporations in their entire economy, coming to North America with a vision to do to health what Toyota did to cars. And they said, we're going to do this by introducing people who are going to introduce people who are going to introduce people. Because if Brian hadn't felt it, he wouldn't believe it. Can't do that on an infomercial. Brian, put your belly on the TV, see if this thing works. You got to have it in real life. And if one person leads to another, regardless of whether some of you think you want to ever make a living doing something like this, let's change the world. If you have a chance to make a difference, there's nothing better. I'll tell you what, for me, after I became aware of this, it was just a passion. Can't tell, can you? Then I had to go out and tell people. It was just sort of coming out of me. I would just say to people, Marion, you got to hear this, because if you don't, I'm going to explode in your living room. And you'll have to clean up the guts. I got to tell you, this is amazing stuff. So we started telling people about it, and one moved to the next, And it's such a cool feeling to go out and just to burn it up and be like, shoo, where is that guy? This guy's like an infection.
Right here.
There he is right there. He's infecting people everywhere. And Tommy's the garbage man. And Tommy's all over this place, ended up with people that he's telling about this, and it's changing people's lives, and he's doing it because he wants to. So watch how it works. And we'll finish this off. What if we could set up a distribution mechanism that was more efficient than telling people a bunch of hooey, just having friends just say, I don't know, try it. It goes from one person to the next, and we could do this in such a way. Anybody see Play It Forward? 3 people had to do something nice. The 3 people had to do something nice. It was pretty soon everybody was being nice to everybody. The multiplication factors are astounding. What if you found simply 5 people, and you started, here's you, and you found 5 people, and you started to make a difference in their lives? Would you sleep better at night? To know that somebody could use their wrist when they were working, and then they could feed their family? He almost came here tonight, but he's a guy from Russia. Came over as a young guy. He and his brother started a company where they were putting tile on everything. Became very, very successful. He's still in his 20s, but his wrists are so bad with inflammation and numbness and tingling and dropping tools, and he couldn't even break a tile. Had the biggest job of their career, was going to be 6 days long, 18 hours a day, and just simply took 2 of these, which are little devices, and put them on his wrist. He went through the whole job, never had a problem, hasn't had a problem since. You know what I did for him? I allowed him to feed his family. That's reasonably noble. Now, what if we found 4 or 5 people to do that? It'll put a happy face on you. And you're just doing that. You wake up in the morning and go make people happy. But what they do is they order stuff directly from the factory. It'd be as if you were to tell somebody, I got this thing cool like, what is it, Costco? And you're going to tell your story in a minute. We go to Costco and buy something. We go, whoa, this is really cool. I can get a whole bunch of it, and I got a truck. Fill it up. Dog food, 4,000 pounds of dog food you can get at Costco. Somebody, and you tell your neighbor, and I might say, Jeannie, you got to go to this place, really cool, $50 you buy at your distributorship. She can, her entry into Costco, she can go and get Costco stuff anytime she wants to. Well, they said, well, let's do that. We'll have people order directly from the factory. The factory will ship directly back to them, and that's just a common courtesy, and everybody can do it. And then what if those people begin to start to have an effect, and they want to tell somebody else, and they just do this? Eventually, this is 5 people. If they affect 5 each, you got 25. If those affect 5 each, you got 125. If those affect 5 each, you got 625. And then 3,125, and then 15,625 people going to Costco to buy stuff. I remember Dave telling a story one time when they came over to your house. What was it that Costco delivered to you guys?
Oh, we bought so much stuff that they actually brought a flat of muffins in a little card saying thank you for our business. We've got 11 kids and for a commercial account.
And that's about what they'll give you, right? But what Ken decided to do was to say, because we don't have to do advertising, you guys are going to do that, that they'll take a cut of this and provide it back to your family, and you can go home on the proceeds of these people using stuff on their own right. In 7 months, I was able to go home. I highly recommend it. For each one of you, you can be aware of what we've just done here, talked about. You can come up and use the technologies. They're astounding. Maybe some of you will want to get some. God bless you for that. Others of you, though, you want to make a difference. You want to make a big difference. And you want to turn around maybe and introduce some other people to make a difference. Because guess what? I highly recommend, if you got a 9-year-old boy at home that says, Dad, how come you never come home? Is it more important with somebody else's kids?